This
Pretty
can't be.
old.
This can't be in the show because I said the F word. If you all didn't hear it, maybe they won't either.
We'll just bleep it out. Gary V gets away with it all the time. I'm adjusting my camera, so we're all kinds of stuff's going on before this podcast starts. That's how organized we are and how dedicated we are to the quality of this show.
We're very organized.
Yeah.
We spend all of our organization efforts on our clients.
There we go. See,
Right. That's
we're
right.
a very selfless organization. There's the cold open. Let's go. Welcome to the NerdBrand Podcast, everybody. I'm Jason. That's Mitch. That's Jon. And no, there's no guest today. Why am I yelling? I don't know. I'm sorry. Don't mean to. Really don't. I'm just loud. But anyhow, so today we're talking about the Super Bowl. We all watched the Super Bowl. I know by the time you watch this podcast, you're like, well, that was last week. Yeah, well, I don't mean to pull the curtain back too much about the show, but yeah, we did record this the week of the Super Bowl, I think. So we're going to talk about the ads. Previous show, we had a guest, Jason Metz. If you want to go check that out, give him some love, visit him on LinkedIn, connect with him. He's a great guy. I had a great time talking with him about networking and the rules of it. Basically, learn when to shut up, learn when to talk, learn when to listen. That's not the title, but it sounds better that way now. But for today's show, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl ads, the actual ones that happened. And we got a list to go through, and it's going to be a fun convo because we like talking about ads. But first, we have our first segment that we want to do on the show, and we found a name for it. We used to call it Mitch's Tidbit. Now the name of it is, Mitch?
I don't remember. What did we agree on?
For crying out loud. This is where we all have to edit now. Actually, we're not going to edit this because I'm lazy. But no, it's Mitch's Brand Bite, or is it Brand Bit? Do you want to call it Brand Bit or Brand Bite?
Brand Bit. I think Brand Bit.
Yeah, we'll go with Brand Bit. All right. So we'll come up with some music later and just throw that in.
This is actually how we do the work for our clients as well.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding. It's much more organized.
Yes, it is much more organized.
Much more nailed down.
Yes, but it's supposed to be fun. I mean, it's kind of like when you have a baby and you want to name it. Like, I know you go through the process, you get a list of baby names. I'm talking out my ear here because I don't have kids. So I'm going to shut up and move on. Anyways, Mitch, what's the Brand Bit?
Oh, just in the spirit of the Super Bowl ads, which is the topic of conversation for us today, I just wanted to throw out a little, I don't know, it's as much of a brand bit as is a little piece of advice. If you're a major brand launching an ad campaign or an ad or some kind of large promotion that involves a celebrity, influencer, or other prominent individual, it's always a good idea to do a little homework, do a little bit of research before you throw your marketing effort out there for consumption, and to prevent it from getting smacked down by maybe something you should have known before you launched the said material. I think everybody probably knows what I'm alluding to.
Ominous.
It does sound ominous, doesn't it?
I think everybody knows what I'm alluding to, and that was
I don't actually.
The Jeep ad that featured Bruce Springsteen driving across America on the snow-covered, desolate plains where he finds the midpoint of America, and the ad actually did a pretty decent job of expressing, finding a middle ground in the country that's been a little upheaval the last several months. But it's an automotive company promoting a form of automotive transportation, and your chief spokesperson has just been recently busted for DUI.
Oh, well, yeah.
So, I mean, and there's still some other controversy swirling about this, which of course, once you get the PR people involved, they're going to try to paint the best picture on it they possibly can. Well, he really blew half of a breathalyzer score of what is necessary to be DUI.
Yeah, we hope that's not it. 0.2, 0.5, whatever works. Like, no.
But nevertheless,
I didn't see the commercial, but I also, just based on your description, I don't really see Bruce Springsteen as a compromise in terms of political statement. You know,
Well, I mean, that's a whole other topic of conversation. And you know, we all have our list, I think, probably of our favorite Super Bowl ads that ran this year. And you probably didn't see it, John, because this surprised, and another thing that surprised me about it was that it ran at the really tail end. I mean, it was during the post game. I think it might have been during the trophy presentation right after that. So it was kind of at the tail end. It was a full 60, beautifully shot.
Full 60, man.
Full
60 seconds. Wow.
Pretty well written. Okay. But we can quibble a bit about, was he the right guy to send this message, for a couple of different reasons. I think Springsteen's probably, you know, of Born to Run fame, he's probably, you know, more associated with motorcycles.
Yeah.
Than Jeeps.
Yeah.
Or I mean, if it had been a 70s muscle car, it might have been more in line. But a Jeep, and he was wearing a cowboy hat. And I've never really pictured Bruce. I mean, he looks it, okay. He's got some age on him, so his face is weathered, and you know, he's got, you know, years of experiences and stories written into every one of those lines. What's that?
Well, people say that about me when I get older. You know, your face is weathered, but it's full of years of experience and.
But yeah, seriously
like
though,
a prune, but you're fine.
His every line tells a story. Okay.
Your nose is a raisin, but you're good.
My point. Finish his point.
My point. Visually, the ad was beautiful. It was very beautifully shot, and it was well written. And like I said, we can quibble a bit about, you know, some of the details. Was he the right guy? Was this the right mode of transportation? But for the purposes of this brand bit, just a little advice to do your homework.
Yeah.
Make sure you got all your T's crossed and your I's dotted, that this is the right person at the right time to be representing my brand. That's all. That's simple.
That's the double-edged sword of influencers, and you know, influencers are not new. It's, you know, celebrity endorsement. The whole concept's the same, but you know, if you pick people like that who are that much in the limelight, I feel like no matter what, again,
there's a risk.
You know, there's a risk, and somebody's always done something stupid or wrong. You know, it could be a lot worse. At least you don't have Jared, you know, and
that's true.
Not Subway, and it could be a lot worse. So, but you know, I don't know that there's really any safe celebrity that you can.
Yeah.
Well, but Jonathan doesn't. I mean, that kind of raises a good point. I mean, brands have relied on celebrity spokespeople since the advent of the advertisement.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of become a little bit more of a minefield nowadays. But I mean, social media alone. I mean, you look at I don't know that Gina Carano, for example, is the spokesperson for any particular brand, but she got in some hot water about an Instagram post and pretty much lost her job on The Mandalorian. My point in bringing that up is just simply that there's so many platforms now where these celebrities are very visible and have, you know, I'm sure they pay good PR firms. I'm sure they pay good, you know, they have good reps, good representatives, good, you know, good handlers that they could hand off some of this stuff to maybe help them express themselves. But I think maybe social media and the 24-hour news cycle have made it really difficult. I think has made it harder.
Well, yeah, and
to avoid these situations.
You got such like things within a statement that I've learned over the years. You can like create a narrative out of just about anything. You can take a series of pictures that are completely irrelevant to the point you're making and create a different narrative that says something else. And I think we've kind of forgotten that a little bit, that it's really easy to sort of like create fake news, right? But in celebrity endorsements, like there has to be a safe person. I mean, come on, how risky is Betty White? Really? Come on. Snickers did it. I like those ads. Yeah.
There's gotta be something. Nobody's perfect. No, you know, especially, you know, at that level of fame and, you know, wealth and stuff. You can do whatever you want. You're going to do something that society deems, whether it's unethical or just, you know, just something they don't like. And like Mitch was saying, the microscope on everybody, but especially people, you know, politicians and celebrities, you get trending on Twitter for the wrong reason, it's
Mhm.
going to take off. And like you were saying, I think kind of what you were getting at started off as like internet jokes, like trying to make humor out of just completely making false narratives or whatever, has really kind of become a weapon.
Yeah.
But the internet was a joke at first, to kind of take some images and not risque or anything, but just any kind of image and make a goofy narrative. Um,
I mean,
Definitely took off in a different direction the last 4 or 5 years.
yeah, that's kind of sad too, because I enjoy memes. Sometimes I would converse on with you guys. I converse sometimes with get GIFs or GIF, depending upon your point of view on how you want to pronounce that. I know that's a debate, but because I know one's peanut butter, the other one's the image that moves.
Yeah, don't get us started on niche versus niche.
Oh. But anyways, that's Mitch's brand fight, Britt. I am going to mess it up all
Think
the time.
about it.
But don't worry, we'll get there. We'll maybe do some art or something in the future. Like we're expanding our horizons on how we edit this show, anyways. Because honestly, it's your show. You can do what you want. It's a podcast. I mean, these ain't hard. Fire up Zoom, have a conversation. Yay! You have a podcast. So anyways, a little bit
If
more.
we can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah. If we can do it, you can do it too. Isn't that like a song? Anyways, moving on. I'm just droning right now. John, what's the end?
I posted this on LinkedIn. I don't know if you've seen it, Mitch, but I know you did, Jason. More of a branding thing, not marketing per se. But Match.com did their whole rebrand, rolling it out right before Valentine's Day, as is fitting.
I need to see this.
Yeah. Go look up my LinkedIn. You'll actually, it might make you happy or sad. They used a serif font for their new logo.
Right tool for the right job.
Yeah,
Whatever,
I actually think it feels really nice if you look at some of the other brand creative. But can you see the logo?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. it.
Yeah.
What's the first four letters look like to you? Don't read mine.
What do the first four? There's only 5 letters in the.
I know. What do the first 4 look like? What word does that spell?
MATC.
Almost. It almost looks like, some people say it almost looks, the C looks like an E. It's like trying to reach toward an E and mate.
Yeah, which is yeah.
I didn't see I didn't see that. I did not see that until you said that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an official statement or not.
Yeah, it almost has kind of a throwback quality. I mean, you were both probably too young to remember a TV show in the 70s called Love American Style. That font, it was much more stylized. The font was much more stylized for that TV show, but it has a little bit of that kind of feel to it. It makes me wonder if that was an inspiration to it. Look it up when you get a chance.
Will do. I just think it's interesting time. Not interesting. It's great timing, as obviously we're hitting Valentine's Day, but also we're hopefully getting to the tail end of COVID, and people have been cooped up for a year, not really able to date. So I think I'm sure that was part of their strategy, but that was.
I'll be honest. I'd like, I'll be honest. I'm the single man here. I'm probably the eternal bachelor, which, many people are probably looking at this video going like, we know why.
Easy.
Wow.
But I would agree. Like, it's good timing for them to do that, given the fact that we're about ready to come out the other end of the tunnel. That's probably a really bad analogy. Anyways, moving on. So let's talk about some ads.
One more, if I can, I'm going to make one more comment about this logo. One thing that does strike me about it, the way the A is leaning into the M.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of like, I want to get to know you. I want to get acquainted. You're kind of leaning in. You're paying a little more attention. And the M to me looks masculine, and the A to me looks feminine. I don't know if that means anything. But
interesting. The heart moved from the top to the bottom, and some folks said that was like a hard stop, like match, done. Like a period almost.
Right, like a period. That probably played into it. That's a logical assumption.
Yeah, there's a dating app out there that they've run some advertisements for a while that I thought were pretty creative. Unfortunately, I don't remember the name of the app, But they were like, we're the app that we want you to delete us because the whole point is for you to successfully find someone. So we want you to delete to delete us, at some point. That's our goal, basically, was the gist of the ads. I thought it was really good. I thought that
Yeah,
was like,
I think I saw that. I can't remember. I mean, I imagine it was the Bumble or Twitter or Tinder or
it might have been
Might
Match.
be Match or
Yeah.
OkCupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good point, Mitch, man. Good catch on the logo on what's going on there. We'll post this in
What
the
I do.
edit. Yeah. We'll post an image of this in the edit, and we'll also like throw a link in because we do on nerdbrandagency.com. We post this as a blog post with the video that you can watch, and we'll put some links in there too for reference as well. So, anyways, that was the brand bit and the what the
Yeah, we need another segment title for that probably. Kind of on the title. But
You don't
we'll
like
figure it out.
like it did start out with Jonathan's and then it became what the as of this episode. Now it's like John's like no.
No.
Jonathan's marketing moment. I'm big
John,
into alliteration.
that works. Stuff like that always works. I find that if you can help people remember it, I mean, my gosh, this is Nerd Brand Podcast. So how many times we talked about Peter Parker, and names that have been applied in the Marvel universe that's how you remember them is because of that. Of course, we remember just outside of Marvel Universe, everybody remembers Jon Snow because winter's coming. But
Winter's here, folks.
well, yeah. Ice. It's not just
Some of those pileups are not pretty to see.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't have a GPS and you're out driving, man, you're probably sitting in a 17 pile backup or something right now. So, anyways, hopefully you're listening to this going like, thanks for reminding me, guys. Anyhow, let's move on. Let's talk about some ads. So I had a list pulled up for us to go through. I think, I want to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 is what I want to do with these. And so 1 being the worst, 10 being like, good job. And sadly, personally, for me, I can't even find one that rates higher than a 4 that came out this Super Bowl.
You're a harsh critic.
Yeah, man. Dang.
Yeah, I am. I'm a pretty harsh critic. So the first one I saw, and because I tuned in late, it was the Amazon Alexa with Michael B. Jordan. It made me laugh. So, but I gave it it kind of just made me laugh, like, that's interesting, kind of a thing. So I kind of gave it a 3 out of a 10. But what did you guys think?
I thought it was good. It looked some of the research. I forget which. I can't remember if it was Ad Age or Ad Week that said it was the longest watched of the Super Bowl TV spots.
Yeah. John?
It apparently drew pretty well.
I have not seen it. I tried to catch as many of these as I could, but I had a screaming child the whole Super Bowl. Just running around like crazy. Not in a bad way, just having a good time.
Yeah.
But no, I
think it ran. I think it ran kind of late in the game too, if I remember correctly.
For everyone's notice, I fell asleep after the halftime show. I'm sorry.
It was not the most exciting Super Bowl. No, it wasn't one of those down to the wire. It wasn't very competitive. So it was hard to watch. Unless you were like me and watching purely for the commercials.
Yeah, I watched a few. What I did, I ended up watching a few of the commercials, and then a little bit of the game, and then I honestly went to Netflix. That's what I did that day, and because I was like, I'll just go onto YouTube and watch these later. So, and again, we'll post some links to where you can go watch some of these, but that's pretty much where I went to get the list. And I know it's not going to be the entire list, and you're probably like, Jason, the whole point is to watch the Super Bowl to watch the commercials. I know, but
this is one of my ass. One of the biggest reasons people are running Super Bowl commercials is to get that additional earned media on the backside, because they know people are going to go to YouTube and watch it. And, some people release their commercials before the game to build that awareness and hype, because they know they're going to get kind of lost in the mix if they rely solely on the Super Bowl presence. So, it's not shameful, Jason.
But it's just interesting that it used to be the whole idea was to have these really, everybody, it was like an added value watching the Super Bowl was being entertained by the commercials. And really the entertainment value of the commercials is, I think initially when this became a phenomenon, that was the draw. And this goes all the way back to the 70s, because I think it was Miller Lite was like the godfather of the big Super Bowl ad splash, if I remember correctly. And that's a campaign that ran for several years.
Well, speaking of Miller Lite, they're second on the list. And when I saw that one, I was like, what is this? I couldn't tell it was them at first, because these commercials are really like they're productions. I mean, they take a while to run. I mean, they're buying 30, 60-second spots, but I couldn't tell it was them and what the point was. And I was like, oh, there's a Miller Lite commercial. That's something. All right, cool. Anyways, I rated it a 2 because of that, because immediately I was like, what? So.
What was there were several, Budweiser ran several ads on their Bud Light, the seltzer had it, they both had their own, I mean, they were there several times. What was the theme of the Miller?
That's the thing I couldn't figure out either. It was just a bunch of stuff happening. That's how unmemorable this thing was. Did y'all see what I did there? But it's like, that was my problem with it. I mean, it was kind of like, I expect beer commercials. I expected Bud Light or, Budweiser, period, seeing Miller was like, okay, it's familiar. Like you expect those commercials. You expect Frito-Lay. You expect like the typical
Fritos and Skittles and
right, yeah, because it's Super Bowl stuff. I mean, anything short of like a dancing chicken throwing wings up at the screen. I mean, that's kind of what you expect in the Super Bowl is that kind of stuff. But when it started out, I was just kind of like, I didn't even know who it was. And that's kind of bad when you don't immediately kind of know within the first, I don't know, 5 seconds. Like,
right,
that's bad because if you go into YouTube with it, there's that skip feature on YouTube, and you got about 4 seconds to make an impact to see if they're going to stick with that ad and watch it. Otherwise, they're just going to skip it.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Oatly, because that takes me to a point about them that everyone's, this one's the Super Bowl commercial that's got everybody fighting. Was it good? Was it bad? What the hell was that? But
what did I just watch?
I thought it was an interesting point. I can't remember where I read it, but somebody I think on LinkedIn pointed out that it was one of the only true kind of like brand awareness type of ads where they had the logo on the screen for the full 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. And they integrated their brand message very, depending on how you look at it, in a creative way, but they put it out there. They made it very explicit, and it wasn't vague or like the Miller commercial. It wasn't, it was just right in your face. This is the brand. This is what we do. And that was one of the few that I saw personally, traditional kind of brand commercials, which is kind of the point of running a commercial during the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in that respect, it checked all the boxes that you're supposed to check. The question I came with it was it appealing enough that I would want, because it's a food product. It's oat milk. Mm-hmm. Milk, a milk-like product derived from oats. And it's like, bottom line, when it comes to food, how important is it that you portray the brand in a way that makes it desirable? Other than the fact that, you've checked all the boxes on what an ad is technically supposed to do. But like I said, if you're a consumable, how important is it that you present your product in such a way that makes people want to consume it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you didn't really get to see, I guess for that ad, my thing was you didn't really see the product.
Right. Yeah. They could have poured a big glass of milk.
Well,
yeah, something.
They kind of played on the whole in the lyrics, and I can't remember them all. But it talks about the fact that it's not from cows and things. So they spoke the language of that kind of, I don't know, pseudo organic, non-dairy, maybe vegan or vegetarian audience, those kinds of things. And that's a niche. That's really a niche when you think about it. I'm not sure, but I guess my larger point is I'm not sure how much this would this ad approach broadened their audience.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll know for a while. My chair keeps sinking down. It's like my chair's like, you're not going to be on this.
You need more Oatly. No, I think there was a lot of people took it at face value, but there was also the element. It was a little bit of a deep commercial in that they knew it was kind of like, what the hell? They planned for it. This commercial ran, as far as I read, it ran in Europe not too long ago, like 3 years ago, and it didn't do very well. They actually created a t-shirt or sweatshirt, and they're selling it on their website. That the title on the shirt, it says something about the Oatly ad sucks or something like that. Like they planned for this. And you think about their demographic, it probably is on that younger side of people who are, I don't know, more interested in the organic side of things, like the millennial and the generation below them that are open to or more looking for that natural food. They haven't been drinking milk for their whole life, in the traditional sense. And this was kind of that level of humor, the quirky, we're going to make fun of ourselves. We're going to be an internet meme type thing. I think that has appeal with their target. But I heard, or actually got a comment back on LinkedIn from someone that said, I will not buy the product because of that commercial.
I saw that.
I'm like, really? Because
harsh.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, I think I replied in that thread. I was like, if a brand does something unethical or something that just deeply doesn't align with my values, yeah, I might discount them if I see them in the store. But now I know what Oatly does. I sort of knew the name very lightly before that commercial, but now I know they're a milk alternative. And if I see that in the store on the shelf next to the other, maybe 3 milk alternatives, I might go for that one now just because of that commercial. Like, I'm not, whether it was goofy or a bad commercial or whatever, like, I'm not going to disqualify a brand if the product meets my need, and I'm familiar with it. I'm probably going to pick it up.
Or if you just want to try it and
right.
and you don't know if you like it until you try it, right?
Curiosity factor.
Yeah, I mean that had to be a huge factor in, like, for them. Like they've had to have acquired new customers from that, because people are like, well, I never heard of that before. I'll go try it, see what it tastes like. Because for me, I've tried almond milk and I'm not a fan of it. And so I would probably go look at that now as an alternative. It's just, you never know.
There's a large, lactose-free market in the United States and globally, and just people who are not fans of cow milk in the whole industry around that. And that's what that commercial, it hit that mark too. Again, that younger generation trends more heavily into climate concerns and environmental concerns and things like that.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of vegan options. I mean, well, there are now, but they're really hard to find and could be expensive. And I mean, it's just, it's a market that's finally opening up and broadening more. I have nothing against veganism at all, but some people have to do it. I may have to do it eventually for health reasons. But it's good to know that, okay, there's the Impossible Burger. Yay! I still get to eat a burger. Even though it's not a burger, but still.
This brings up an interesting kind of sub discussion, and that is that brands that showed up at the Super Bowl that you don't commonly see in television ads. There were 2 or 3 that jumped out at me. One of those was Logitech, the people that make mice and peripherals and things. They had and the theme was Defy Logic, which I thought was a nice tie-in with their brand name and their branding and everything.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. Inspiration 4, the whole civilian space effort brand. That was one of the early ads during the Super Bowl. You don't see a brand like that advertised very often.
That commercial confused me. I didn't until I saw people talking about it on Twitter. I was like, I don't know what that commercial was about, and I've never heard of Inspiration.
What's that mean?
But again, that's the point.
Let's see. Dex, I think it was a Dexcom, which was a
diabetes insulin.
Diabetes insulin type product. That was another one, and there was one more that we are really familiar with that you don't see advertised. And it was Fiverr, and they look like they spent a lot of money on their ad. The problem I had with their ad is like the problem I had with it was it had high production value, tons of production value. But I came away at the end thinking, if I'm Joe Schmo and I'm not in the industry, I have no idea what they do or what they sell.
Right. Yeah, I think they're one of the ones, they're in that Upwork category, but Upwork definitely took the steam on that industry. And I saw somebody point out that they were disappointed that they didn't use Fiverr to produce their commercial.
Good point.
Yeah, it is a good point. I know about,
Stick to your brand values.
I know Fiverr's history and who started it, how it started, and how it's tied to a particular YouTube channel and the controversy around the time when the Harvey Weinstein stuff was coming out, and that person that owns that got tied up into that, and so I have an and when it comes to Fiverr just because of that. But yeah, that is a good point though. Yeah, why didn't somebody from Fiverr do the commercial? That's hilarious.
And one more kind of brand that nobody was probably aware of that you didn't normally see on the Super Bowl was Dr. Squatch, which I guess is a soap, like an all natural soap product for men.
Okay,
I kept waiting for beef jerky to come out somewhere.
I left that off my list. I feel so bad. I left.
That was a good one.
I watched all of them.
Yeah, I did believe that was a good. That I guess So I'm gonna amend my list. I'm gonna amend my list right now and say yes, that one gets I think that one's worthy of a 6 out of 10. Yeah.
See, I give the Oatly a 7 out of 10 because I feel like it accomplished its mission. Maybe even an 8. It could have been. You can quibble over its creative value or whatever, but and whether you need the CEO in a commercial, but it did its job and people are still talking about it.
Yeah.
And in the end, in this, I've preached this for years. In the end, the final analysis, did the ad do what it was supposed to do? You can take all the other stuff, the aesthetics, the quality, all of those elements. Bottom line, did it do what it was supposed to do?
Yep. Well, next that I've got tied with Jason Alexander. Hadn't seen him in a while. Y'all see that one?
I didn't see that.
Jason Hoodie.
Yeah. So it starts out with the kid.
Kind of bizarre.
Yeah, it was a little bizarre, but it was kind of. I thought it was neat because it's a kid who's wearing a hoodie, and his mom comes in and says that hoodie needs to be washed. I think it's dirty. He's like, no, it ain't. He's and it shows his week of wearing the hoodie and the different things he was doing. I thought the break dancing was a little weird on that one when he would land.
By the way, the hoodie was Jason Alexander's face.
Yeah. And
its expression changed depending on the situation he was wearing it in.
Yeah. So a ball hit him. And then so Jason's face went from like that, like that. And so it took a while for me to catch the visual on that one. But yeah, I thought that would, for creativity, I did give this one a 6. By the way, out of 10, I thought for that because I thought it was just really creative and thought out. And then, of course, at the end, Jason makes an appearance like, "That's my face. Give me back my face." That kind of a thing. I thought that was a little corny, but, it landed for me.
There were 2 ads in particular that, to Jonathan's point about being effective. And, we can agree or disagree on these. But there were 2 in particular I thought told the right story at the right time. The first one was the Bud Light seltzer.
See, it's not just me.
Lemon of a year.
Lemon of the year.
And it's like all these common situations that have been these situations we enjoy or look forward to or participate in our everyday life that have been disrupted by COVID.
2020 alone.
And they portrayed this by basically a rainstorm of lemons basically destroying everything. There was a wedding. There were several of these things. And first of all, I laughed almost till I was in tears. But I was partially laughing because like, dang, this is dead on. This is 2020 in a nutshell, or in a lemon peel, if you will.
Yeah, of all the ads that ran, I think that was the one that really was like addressing like, okay, this is what's going on.
I was waiting for him. I was waiting for the whole, inspirational. I'm sure, like Sheep did that inspirational angle. I thought more brands would take that angle, but I'm glad, kind of glad they didn't. I thought it might get a little dull or whatever, that every brand's going to try to make a statement about how terrible things have been.
Yeah, it
But
can get dicey.
and the thing about the thing that Bud Light Seltzer did was they did it with a smile. 'Cause
Yeah.
it was like, you know what? This has been a hell of a year.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong by
We
hitting
can
people
all
in the face with lemons.
well, it just but it's like the lemons were the metaphor for COVID. Basically, it was wrecking everything, and it was and you know, tying in that to the flavor of seltzer. And it's like, you know what?
Well, yeah, it's just like,
It's like, you know, it's been a heck of a year. You can at least treat yourself with this.
yeah, well, when
You've at least got this.
you know the saying, like when life, and that's probably where they got the idea. When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. That's kind of what the whole
They
point.
played on that at the very end. I can't remember the line where she cuts him off.
Yeah.
He walks up at the barbecue, the backyard, you know, grill out, and says something, you know, starts saying when life gives you lemons, and I can't remember what she said back to him, the other actress.
Yeah.
The other one was it was a product I can't remember. It's some kind of a service running product called Vroom, and it's probably an online or
it's like
alternative
Carvana.
car purchase,
Mm-hmm.
Carvana, and basically being held hostage in a car dealership by the salespeople, more or less. And I'm sorry, that's something I relate to.
Yeah.
I love cars. I hate buying them because you know you're going to go in and it's going to be an hours long, or you might as well pack a meal because you're not going anywhere for a long time, and they practically hold you at gunpoint. So I thought it really
that was a good one.
That story really well.
That was a good one when he's, you know, like got him in an interrogation, like if you could just call your wife.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because we all bought a car and experience. We know it in our industry. We know what they're doing. It's a part of the sales tactic. Leave them in the room to let them sweat. And I remember reading a story where they would like leave the phone off the hook so that they could listen in another room to what conversations you were having, or the salesman would leave his phone there, but have it like the line connected so that they could listen in and let you sweat for about 20 minutes to see what you were saying, and then come back in with a counter offer or whatever. And car dealers, they kind of live up to their, they've earned their stereotype. Let's just be honest.
Well, I mean, this is a whole
too that they, you know, they know. I think statistically, the woman makes that decision usually, and so to kind of touch on that as well in the commercial was interesting.
Yeah,
it's funny how that works in those big ticket items, especially with married couples or you know, long cohabitating couples. How many of those big ticket decisions get made by them?
Well, there's the thing about women's intuition. That's real. Like that's some psychic crap right there. Like
plus they got mom strength.
Yeah, you gotta listen.
They can lift the car if there's
Yeah. So yeah, you need to like pay respect to that and listen to that. Like, you know, as man of the house, you know, it's like, nah, you're it's not one or the other. So, but it's that intuition they got. They just kind of like they go, and then you better listen. They're 90% of the time they're right. Anyway, Hellman's Mayo. My comments on this one are why. I gave it a 2. It's like, what? Why have this commercial first? Just, I don't know. Did y'all see it? Comments, thoughts?
Yes, I saw it.
I don't want to see it.
No, you don't. I don't.
Well, I mean, the thing I came away with, and I'm sorry, but it's like they are trying so hard to find a brand that Amy Schumer fits with. It's like I've seen several. I mean,
what'd you say?
I said you won't say it to her face.
Lord, no. I'll get clocked. But I mean, she's in the Tampax campaign now, I think.
Yeah.
Now she's in the Hellman's Mayo.
For me, it wasn't really about her. For me, it was just it's a commercial about mayo. During the Super Bowl.
I like it.
Oh, we had oat milk. Why not?
I mean, I know.
Why not,
but I know. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. I really can't, like, it broke my brain. It still breaks it when I think about it. So that's about all I got to say. So it gets a 2 out of 10 for me.
Let's see if the sales go up.
Yeah. I mean, that's something to kind of look at maybe later, but you know, $5.5 million for a spot. And that's what you got. That's what you wanted to do. It's like, all right, you do you.
And why Amy Schumer?
Yeah. So, anyways, next up, we all knew this was coming. Frito-Lay. My problem with Frito-Lay in their commercial was, it ain't Christmas. So all the poems out there you had to pick, you had to use a night before Christmas to start running a narrative with, your product. I mean, it's not Christmas. Let me say it again. It ain't Christmas. I know it's white snow outside right now, but anyway, I gave that one a 2 as well. Because I was just like, I don't know. It's a long poem, so I kind of got bored in the middle of it as well. But anyways,
The
You should
Doritos
try
flat matte one was pretty fun.
you should try your hand at being a movie critic.
I thought about it. I could do it, but nobody cares what I think. Nobody really cares probably what I think right now about these things.
Well, at least
Did you guys notice there was a couple of different products that had multi-ad approaches? Rocket Mortgage with Tracy Morgan,
Mhm.
and the Paramount, was it Paramount Plus?
Mhm.
Yeah, streaming.
They had their ad like told a story through 3 ads, and the Tracy Morgan one was 2 or 3. I thought that was an interesting approach, kind of an episodic
I would have done
approach to ads.
I would have had, because Frito-Lay's got Doritos, Frito-Lay, and they got these different. I would have had like 3 of the products there. Each of the guys wearing a shirt that has the name of the product. So that's Dorito guy, that's Frito-Lay girl, whatever, and then they're all just talking to each other in a haiku. And that was that's what I would have done. Not so much.
It's an approach.
Not so much of a long, like the whole night before Christmas, love with all, and I don't know.
I think the episode or sometimes you have those brands that run the commercial back to back, and I'm like, you're just trying too hard.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
I kind of tune out personally.
Right. The Paramount one to me was, it was okay. The first one, probably of the 3, was probably the funny one where Snooki come up in the back, talking about being too hungover for this. I thought that was awesome. That line was. But I thought the Rocket Mortgage one was good because they made best use of it, because they basically unfolded it in talking about the theme, expressing it in 2 or 3 different ways. I'm trying to find my note. But basically, it was like, being certain, in other words, are you sure this is a decision you want to make? And then they unfolded all the different reasons why it's best to be certain rather than just being, well, kinda, it's okay. This is good enough, but they unfolded that rationale really well. The Paramount one was just kind of, they're trying to give you a reason to buy into their service by showing all the different characters for all the different shows they have to offer. But it was still like, I'm not sure they sold it hard. And by the way, Patrick Stewart is getting really old.
That's what you took away from that. I took away.
From the last ad, I was listening to it. Has Patrick Stewart really gotten that old?
I'll be honest that when I saw that, I was like, I didn't think like, has Patrick Stewart gotten that old? I kind of knew I know how old he is. I was just thinking the whole time, it's like, should he be out there in the cold without a jacket at that age? But
right.
I was alarmed that John Travolta looks like Joe Rogan.
Oh my God.
I think that was Uber. Was that Uber Eats or no? That might have been different. But he was like on the tail end of it, and
was he in that, or was it the Scott's fertilizer?
That's what it was. Yeah. The
guy
was grilling.
They had several celebrities.
I didn't even recognize him until the guy grilling said his name, and I was like, I rewinded it, and I was like, oh, he looks completely different, and he looks like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, well, he's kind of gotten, sadly, he's gotten really quiet since his wife passed, and so, I mean, that's probably why. I mean, that was a relationship that was around for a long time for him, and I believe they were really in love. And when she passed to breast cancer, I imagine that got him to kind of like be like, all right, I need to step back, and he did, because I mean, I hadn't seen him in years either.
Now he's doing Scottsdale lawn fertilizer.
Yeah.
Speaking of heartstrings, that Toyota spot I thought was very, very
yes,
emotionally compelling. I don't know how many cars it'll sell, but it really made you feel kind of good about that brand and their values. I thought it was very, very touching, man.
Yeah, yeah, it made me tear up a bit. I'll be honest with you, I did, but didn't make my main list. It gets honorable mentions, but other than that, yeah, it did. I agree with that. So John Cena, and for Mountain Dew watermelon, which doesn't, I don't know. I'm not gonna diss it because I've not tried it, but I probably will try it actually because I do enjoy their orange flavored drink because it used to be seasonal for that one. So I don't know. I'll try this one. But what y'all think about
Baja Blast is where it's at.
Yeah. What y'all think about John Cena? Because it's at least you can say that.
It was really pink. I after that ad was over, now the whole idea was to send in if you could spot all the, what was it? All the
watermelon,
the Mountain Dew watermelon cans or bottles or whatever.
Yeah.
Right number and you win something.
I will say they did a good job of that because I saw it on Twitter and a lot of activity. And I know Mitch, we talked to a prospective client earlier this week, and that was one of the ones he called out, and he said, you know, his girlfriend was rewinding it and trying to count all of them and going online and trying to do whatever, when I don't know if they were giving stuff away or what, but I think that is one thing that they bridged that TV to digital channel, it seemed like, really well.
Yeah, I guess I'm
not sure if I was the audience for that one, maybe.
Yeah,
it didn't resonate.
Yeah, it didn't resonate with me either, and that's why I gave it a 2. But after what I just heard our John say, I'm like, okay, well, all right, I'll bump you to a 3. Maybe
well, it's an interesting thing because we're not the first people to grade Super Bowl ads, and you know, understand that we're not the target audience for all of these. Like, you're not supposed to like every single ad or find it appealing.
Right.
You're just, you know, it's possible that you're just not in their target demographic. They don't want you.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. We can't look at any of these objectively. None of us can, because this is what we do for a living.
Yeah.
So it's impossible for us to come in cold without the biases we bring to the table. Let alone any consumer brings some bias to the table. But we're in the industry. We know what goes into these things. We know the processes behind the scenes that make these things happen. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of privy to some knowledge, if you will, that the average Joe isn't.
Yeah, and that's what I'm basing it.
I can't look at. I told my wife, and this goes this way with movies, having been on video shoots and things like that. I can't watch anything without breaking down automatically in my mind. How did they do this? Where did this come from? Where did this concept come from? What's the root of this? Why didn't they put that person in a different color outfit? Why didn't they light this different? I can't be objective. I'll be perfectly candid. I can't be objective about any marketing material, any movie, anything that has any kind of production storytelling value, because I by instinct now, I just, without thinking, I'm dissecting every little piece of it. It's kind of
that kind of happens when you have either an education into something, or if you have, you know, the experience into something. I mean, we all kind of get to that point. Like, I frankly would sit in a church service and I would start timing the pastor on when his beats were in his sermon. And I'm like, where it comes from, or I would know where he referenced that from, or he got that from. Wasn't even paying attention to what he was saying. I was like, you know, because I know what's going on and I have a background in that. I was like, okay, that's what's, and you know,
yeah, where does a preacher go to be preached to?
Yeah. You kind of ruin yourself when you do that. Like, you know, one of the class, like when I would watch films, you know, before school, they had this class called theology in film, which I thought was fantastic because, you know, you kind of dive into like, really, what's the message? What's the director, with the creative people, the writers, what's really going on? What's this movie trying to say? Because they're all about redemption. And I found that the most fascinating thing. And I've always wanted to do like a discussion on that, because there's movies that everybody, like Hannibal is like a reverse messianic character story, where Hannibal's actually the messianic character and the FBI agent is the, you know, antagonist. And it's sort of like you spot these things when you take that kind of a class. But now when you go and sit in the movie theater, I watch that and I'm doing that, and I have to shut that off so that I could just enjoy the freaking film and not try to be analytical about everything.
It's hard. It's hard.
It's hard to do that. But for the ratings on my list here, I mean, I am trying to like weigh, like, you know, was this a good strategy? Was this a good time for this? Was this a good, you know, is this a product that the people that are watching this, like, I criticize Hellman's because I'm like, how many people are lathering up a sandwich right now in the middle of the Super Bowl, right? So that's why I was such a harsh critic with it. Which brings me back to my this is the last one for me. I only did 7 because and I had to include this one because it's Will Ferrell. And it's Will Ferrell about GM's EV thing, because electric vehicles now are something that they are hard on pursuing, and most auto manufacturers are. In fact, there's a recent article about how some oil companies are buying up like places where charging stations are going to be. So you kind of already see where this is going. But we saw the legislation about our nation's talking about that in the future of electric. But my questions are about this one. Why pick on Norway?
Because they had to pick on somebody, I guess.
It kind of lost me, to be honest. I mean, I got the point of the electric car and all of that, but it kind of was like, and I did not really understand the Will Ferrell connection, because to me, GM, they just released their new logo and their new branding, and they picked their new logo to signify that electric car line. It's got kind of like a neon blue, light blue effect.
Looks kind of like a plug.
Yeah. So I don't know. I kind of just I watched that commercial and I like Will Ferrell and I laughed. It was good for that reason. And you got the message out there that there's electric vehicles, but the whole Norway thing, I didn't get it. Maybe I just missed something.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Sometimes it.
Go ahead. Mitch.
Well, it is sometimes in an effort to be funny, in an effort to be quirky, you overshoot your target, and it becomes about the quirk and not the message.
Right.
And that's probably where they got in trouble, maybe a little bit. Because I feel the same way you did. I'm a Will Ferrell fan, although I'm starting to wonder if maybe the bloom is starting to fall off that rose just a little. I mean, when was the last really relevant film he made? It's been at least 5.
Oh yeah, it's been a while. Well, but a scale of 1 to 10.
Those things matter to people.
Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10 for that one, what do you guys give?
5.
To me, that one's pretty low. Like I said, I didn't get it. I'm in a 3 or 4 because I just feel like they could have sold there's a little bit of tension and opposition to changing the way things are.
Yeah. I agree with it. I gave it a 2.
Well, and I have a bias. I'm just a gearhead. I love the internal combustion engine.
I just think they could have. I think they could have better sold the vision. The positives of electric and all that stuff. If that's because that's where their focus is. Again, they redid their whole logo around that line, and that transition from being a traditional automotive company. And I didn't feel like.
And I think to your point, they probably could have still kept Will Ferrell, still made it a little quirky. Because there's enough, I think, built into the whole electric car kind of story. There's enough there to play with. You didn't have to reach so far as to cross the Atlantic up into Scandinavia and pick on the obscure nature of Norway's electric car.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just think there was enough built in. They could have done a better job with the material they had without reaching that hard.
They've got props I give them props for working into the everyone's in the EV and pointing that out. I think that was clever. So I give them cleverness on that one. So for that, I could bump them to the where John's at, 3 or 4 for that, just because of that.
I feel like they almost had like a template, like they wanted to use this for another client. And they just kind of
that never happens. Happens.
Yeah, they just kind of shoveled GM into that concept.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me. That's why there was just some
shoehorn
like baseline disconnect in that commercial that, not to be critical of the team. We sit here. I mean, anybody here done a Super Bowl commercial?
Yeah, that's true. But we ought to mention to what Mitch said earlier. It's like, we've reused and repackaged things before because we find sometimes, and it's serendipitous. It happens. Something comes along and you're like, that actually works really well for them. It didn't work for the previous one, but it works for them. Let's see what they think, and let's talk about that again. And it can happen. So, yeah, I think so. But I don't think you needed Will Ferrell and the journey to Norway and all that stuff to like get to there. I think you could have just done that with a few cuts and that's it. Honorable mentions from me are M&M's, Pringles, Toyota, which you brought up, DoorDash with Sesame Street,
I liked the Sesame Street one. I thought
That was
they
funny.
really made they made really good use of the whole neighborhood
Yeah.
story. That was good.
And this is like one of the first times I think since in a while on an episodes of a podcast, because this is Nerd Brand and it's branding in the nerd culture. The Falcon and Winter Soldier promo that happened.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
That made my day. I was like, I watched that and I was like, they're fighting because they're friends and they're buddies. And it's like watching two married couples fight. And that's kind of what was going
It's
on.
gonna be so it's like it's a buddy movie TV show, but the buddies really just don't like each other very much.
Yeah, but at the end, it's like they were in the psychiatrist's office, I guess psychiatrist's office, whatever. And they're like staring at each other, and she's like, "What is this? A staring contest? How old are you?"
It was, and the little kind of a hint, this kind of gets into the whole my favorite brand thing, and this was just another example of why Marvel is just hitting on all cylinders as a brand these days. It was just you can't do it any better. You just can't.
Yeah. But you can see, like, if you watched the previous phase, if you will, when they did this, they would go to all these press junkets and everything, and then they would strategically put, those two actors together. And often they would mix in Benedict Cumberbatch in with them, but it was always Tom Holland that was there because it kind of gave us a target. Like, I feel bad for Tom Holland after a while because they would just make fun of him, like haze him, But
that's what you do to the young whippersnapper.
But the two of those guys together, like they are like that way. So when I saw those scenes and I saw how these characters have developed, I'm like, that's like almost typecasting now, because that's how how you've seen them. Now, whether that was on purpose at the press junkets or not, we don't really know. They could have like went their separate ways out of different doors at the end of that thing, for all we know. And this is all smoke and mirrors, but it seems like they've worked in that bro love, if you will, or
never underestimate
narrative.
In whether it's casting. Anytime you're putting any kind of team together, never underestimate the value of chemistry.
Exactly.
That's the magic ingredient.
Yeah. Chemistry is good for not just things like that. It's good for like with our team, it's good for when we work with certain clients. There's certain folks that we work well with. There's been others we don't, and that's okay. It's not nothing offensive. It's just is what it is. And
does it fit?
Yeah, it's just not a fit. There's a lot of agencies out there that could be a fit, and we're a fit for a certain type. Do you have to be a nerd? No. What do we say about that? It's like it's not what you love, it's how you love it. So it's a loose quote on from Will Wheaton. Somebody was like, "Yeah, I know that quote. I remember it." Kind of aged me because they were like, "I know that quote. I paid attention to that. I remember him when he was in The Big Bang Theory," and I'm like, "Oh, Jimmy, Look, he's Star Trek: The Next Generation. Hello." I was like, has it gotten to be that old now? And then, of course,
like I said,
Patrick Stewart
is starting to look really old.
Is he like?
Again, you won't say it to his face.
I remember Probably Patrick not. Stewart back when he was in the movie Dune, the first Dune movie.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I even think he had a supporting role in Flash Gordon, the movie from the 80s.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, boy, man. Okay, well, on that note, thanks for watching the show today, everybody. Do you have a favorite commercial? If you have a favorite commercial, find us on social media somewhere at NerdBrand Agency and leave a comment. Let us know. We'll post this podcast there with some teasers and stuff. You'll hear about it. Love to hear like what you thought your favorite Super Bowl commercial was.
Or the ones you hated.
The ones you hated. Scale of 1 to 10. What do you think? Do you disagree or agree with us? You can check out this podcast on YouTube at youtube.com/ not quite at NerdBrand Agency yet.
GX capital Q lowercase.
Yeah, getting there. So please like and subscribe, click the bell, all those things, so that we can get that vanity URL going. We are still trying to work on that. It's a little slow. We understand. There's a lot of things to watch on YouTube, and so. But yeah, we appreciate.
But they're not all as good as we are.
No, of course not. Next week, we've got a guest that's going to be on the show. I think it is Christoph?
Yeah, Christoph Trapp.
And we're going to be talking about live streaming and marketing and how that works. We are, as a podcast, we are planning on doing a live show in April.
Watch
at the
out.
latest. So yes, we will be live. It'll be on YouTube, and it's going to be all kinds of craziness and fun. And so stay tuned for that one next week, and we'll see y'all then. And remember, keep your nerd brand strong.